Sergeant Ryan Bykowski. This is just going to be very literally a few slides on child abuse for our mandate for the EMR class. Child abuse here, obviously, we're the police, so we're kind of involved whenever there's a child abuse case. We'll probably see it more often than anybody else working in law enforcement, but it's just something that we need to go over as the EMR curriculum. So if we look for, if we go to a call, or sometimes we'll get sent to child calls by dispatch just to make sure that there's no abuse or anything going on. But obviously some signs and symptoms of for an abused child is being withdrawn or fearful, have bruising on the body, which is inconsistent with just your typical kids playing, or kids being kids, where we'd assume to see bruising on like their shins or maybe like their lower arms and stuff from playing and knocking into things, but having like kind of some sort of injuries or bruising that's not able to be determined why they have that, are not common. So we got to look out for things like that. So obviously the main goal is to ensure the child's safety and get the child resources and help for whatever they're going through. So you're obviously be multiple fractures, bruisings, various stages of healing. Even that one could be tricky. Like I said, as kids, depending on what age range that they're in, could be, I'd expect to see multiple bruises, even, on like their legs and stuff, or their arms, especially if they're active kids. But I would say you're going to definitely be able to tell, but you'll, I think, be more suspicious of things as you see them. Human bite marks, obviously, or burns, and then just kind of anything that doesn't make sense. Like I said, sometimes we'll get called to a child call with the fire department initially, just to make sure nothing's going on, and when we get there, there's like the parent or whoever's watching them says something, a story of what happened, that you kind of just like turn your head to the side and you're like, what happened there? You just got to be cognizant of those things, and whenever it starts being suspicious, or you're suspicious of possible abuse, obviously we're going to be investigating that. And then what this mandate is all about is making your DCF referral. So if we believe that there's any sort of child abuse, neglect, anything like that, we'll obviously do our own investigation criminally, but we'll notify DCF. So within the first, I believe it's first 24 hours, you have to make a verbal report with the care line. Then we fill out our piece of our written report, our written DCF referral, and have to fax it or email that, whatever DCF would like, within 48 hours of the call or of your suspicions. That's just to be within the standards set by DCF. So we believe that maybe something's going on. We'll investigate it. DCF will in turn investigate it and see if they can offer assistance. And like a last case scenario would be removing the child from the home or things of that nature. So obviously some injuries that we would look at and start being suspect of abuse, kind of look in those pictures right there. It looks like a human bite on the left side with multiple bruisings, and then like a submersion, looks like someone, the feet got dipped into some hot water there. So we'll obviously have the child transported to the hospital. Again, if it's a extremely serious thing, the child sustains some serious injuries, there might be, we'll have to call DCF right away. They might have to, or want to, or have to place the child somewhere else until the investigation is done and completed, just to prevent any further injury or neglect or abuse from happening. even like I said, it's not just I've mentioned a couple times neglect being a form of child abuse. A lot of times when you think child abuse, you just think of that the act of abusing a child, malnourished children, children that aren't being fed, aren't being clothed, aren't being, have their necessities for life. That's would be a form of child abuse. So we have to make sure that we report it. If we ever get to a call or something, we're investigating and we're not sure if child abuse is what's going on, or we're not exactly sure, it's always best to err on the side of caution. Do your investigation and notify DCF, because DCF has made it known that they want to be aware of any sort of circumstances, even if we don't really deem it to be child abuse or are not suspicious of it. If they're, we've started calling DCF just when children are witness to parents arguing. They want to be notified for that. So I mean, obviously it is kind of a little pain in the butt to call DCF, because sometimes you're on hold for a while. It takes a long time, but it's just better off if you have any doubt if you should make a DCF notification or not, just to do it. And then, like I said, if you do it and they take your request or your report and they don't do anything with it, then that's on them. But we did our job as mandatory reporters to notify DCF of a possible claim. And then obviously sexual assault still obviously falls under abuse. But anytime that we believe that there's sexual assault going on, we want to make sure that the child is separated from the suspect. If we know who the suspect is at the time, call DCF so they can help with that, and do our investigation. Our detectives are pretty good here. They'll take over any suspected sexual assault and child abuse investigations, and they're able to spend more time doing interviews, forensic interviews, and things of that nature with the victim. And then, I mean, if you go to a child call, whether it's an abuse call or just a child injury call, especially when you have kids, it's difficult to see those things, and it's as well as getting those children help, whether it's medical help, help from us so we can help put the perpetrator behind bars if it is a abuse scenario. You gotta take care of yourself as well. You might have to talk to somebody and obviously use your EAP for that.